up in the sky. Look, it's captivating. It's energizing. It's Eliances Heroes. Eliances is the destination for entrepreneurs, investors, CEOs, inventors, leaders, celebrities, and startups, where our heroes in business align. Now, here's your host flying in, David Kogan, founder of Eliances.
And here we are back at the Eliances Hero Show. You know, it's the only place where entrepreneurs align. So make sure you go to Eliances.com. That's Eliances.com, where we unlock the secrets of heroes. So with that, I'm so excited. First of all, you know, podcasting is huge. And really, it just continues to get bigger and bigger. You do a Google search on the number of podcasts that are out there. I mean, the list just keeps growing and growing. Everybody wants to either do a podcast or they're looking at already doing a podcast. And we are going to learn today the secrets of podcasting. No other than the Godfather. I call him the Godfather of podcasting. No, this is actually true. And here's one of the main reasons why too is you were recognized as the first nationally syndicated radio show program in the world to begin podcasting. That was in 2004. And we have with us Robert Greenlee. You can reach him at Libsyn.com, Libsyn.com. But Rob Greenlee, first of all, Rob, like 2004 to now, would you ever have thought like so many podcasts would be out there and so many people wanting to do podcasting?
I don't think that I fully anticipated how big it would have gotten as rapidly as it has gotten. But at the time, I had a lot of faith in it because it was something that was very aligned with what I was seeing happen in the digital world in the early days of the internet, was the digitization. And TV and music and film and all that stuff was going digital. So why wouldn't radio, essentially? At the time, that's how I was thinking about it. And that's why I started the radio show that I did, was taking that as a radio show, because back in those days, in the early days of me getting involved in this medium, was the dominant way that people got audio content. And I was just taking that audio and putting it out as a downloadable MP3 file, and then podcasting started in 2004. And for me, it wasn't really a big revolution, but it was part of my broader strategy of trying to utilize the internet to get my radio show out there. And it seemed to be kind of a cutting edge thing to do at the time. And it just has gradually grown. It hasn't been like a hockey stick of growth in the podcasting medium. It's just been steady. It's like 17 years now, just getting a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. And now I don't even have to tell a person what a podcast is anymore. I mean, back in the early days, it was like, well, what's a podcast? And now I don't even have that conversation anymore. That's the big change.
You're right, yeah. Like at the olden days, it was like, internet, what's that? Now podcasting, you're right. Nobody asks what a podcast is. They know on podcasting, which is actually pretty incredible. What are some, you are, again, as the Godfather of podcasting, you know a significant amount about podcasting itself. What are some of the more common questions that you're getting from someone in regards to podcasting? Those that want to do podcasting or that itself?
Well, I get a lot of different types of questions because a lot of people look at the medium in different ways and try and think about how they can apply it to their lives and what they're doing with their business or their career. Some people want to make money from it. Some people want to get their name out, build their brand, build their company reputation. There's just a lot of uses for the medium, and the questions come in from all different perspectives, and it's really helpful to have kind of like a broad perspective on the medium because it can fulfill needs that many people have, especially nowadays where people are working from home. They're kind of more and more people are building like home studios. So they're getting familiar with doing Zoom calls and getting on a microphone in their computer. So it really, podcasting is positioned really well to be a medium that's growing in an environment like this at a little higher rate than what we've seen. I think podcasting is growing at like 5 to 6% a year. So it's not like, growing like this. It's kind of growing steady, and that's that's why early on when I was getting involved in the medium back in the early days of it, I could just see that steady growth. I didn't think it was going to slow down. There were some bumpy years, especially when YouTube launched and Twitter and social media launched. It took a lot of attention away from podcasting.
In fact, too, is why wouldn't, you mentioned about YouTube, why wouldn't someone just go ahead and do videos and post them to YouTube instead of doing podcasting?
Well, they can, and the research around podcasting is showing exactly that. People are starting to think of podcasting in a much more broad scope now. They're thinking it's not just audio. But when podcasting started, even back in 2004 or 5, about 35% of the podcasting market was video. It's just that a lot of people shifted their video creation around their podcast to YouTube. And so, YouTube has now become the second most popular way that people actually discover content online. So it's logical to see what the research is showing is that people are using YouTube to find podcasts. So I think creating video in combination with your audio podcast is actually the ideal strategy.
I'll tell you, this is one of the top questions that we got when people were hearing that you were going to be coming on. That by far the top question was, how do I get exposure? How do I get people to know that I've got this? How do I get those ears, those eyeballs, whatever it is, to know and to go to this podcast? Because especially now with there being, I don't even know how many podcasts there are out there, but how do I get people there?
Yeah, well, there's, to kind of answer the last part of your question is that there's over 4 million podcasts that have ever been created, of which probably 400,000 to 500,000 of them are active shows. So there's been a lot of people that have jumped into creating shows on some of the free podcast hosting platforms, but a lot of those shows don't last. So people give it a try. It works for some, it doesn't work for others, or maybe it doesn't match their expectations of what they wanted. So we do have a lot of shows that get started that don't continue. But the number of shows that do continue is growing. It takes a lot of effort, takes a lot of, David, like it takes a lot of effort to produce a regular content program. And it just, so people, life gets in the way. But as far as to answer your question about marketing a podcast, yeah, I'd say that's probably the number one question that I get is, now I've got a podcast, so how do I grow the audience? How do I build a following for what I'm doing? And it's, my answer is really, if you start a podcast, you're really starting a business. And you need to think about it. And I think thinking about it in a holistic way and really get clear on your goals, what you're trying to accomplish. Is the topic that you're talking about, does it align with who you are? Can you be authentic? Can you do the things that need to be done to produce content every week? Because that's the ideal way to actually do a podcast, is do it every week. And longer is okay. A lot of people think that short is the way to go with podcasting, but if you look at the actual data of shows that are successful out there, it's the longer shows that typically do a little better. But it's also about the content too. If the content's good, people will continue listening to it. Even if it's an hour long, people will, if they run out of time listening to it, they'll come back and finish it, right? So it's all about the quality of the content, what value that you're bringing to it. But as far as on the marketing side, it's all about connecting with your audience. Your audience is your best sales rep for your show. So you need to build that relationship with that audience. And that's around trust, authenticity, consistency, all those things. And then ask your audience to share with their friends and to share it online and to have them evangelize your show. And then the other big area that people are using to market their show is search engines. These are a lot of common sense things that even small businesses have to utilize to build success for what they're doing. Because podcasting can build client base too. It builds your reputation, but it can also just build an audience. So let's say you want to build an advertising business and get sponsors and things like that. You need to build a fairly significant audience to accomplish that. So there's a lot of stuff to unpack in that, dude.
No, that is.
But there's opportunity there, and I don't think it's too late to get into podcasting. You just need to find your voice, find a topic that's unique in the market, do your research with what shows that are out there in your genre of what type of show you want to do, and get her done is what I like to say.
Excellent. Again, and you're watching, listening to me, David Kogan, host of the Eliances Heroes Show. Make sure you go to Eliances.com. That's Eliances.com. We have with us Rob Greenlee. I call him the Godfather of podcasting. And yes, he's been doing it plentiful long, where he holds that title. You can reach him at Libsyn.com. Rob, if somebody wants to reach you directly too, is there any other site that they should go besides Libsyn.com?
Yeah, actually, I have my own website at robgreenlee.com, and I post blog posts there. There's links to all of the podcasts that I'm involved in doing. I do a live video show myself every Wednesday. It's about a 90-minute live show on YouTube. It's also an audio and video podcast. It's called the New Media Show at newmediashow.com. And I'm on Twitter. If you want to send me an email, you're certainly welcome to robg@libsyn.com.
What are some of the more popular subjects that you're seeing now that are getting those eyeballs?
I think it's all over the map, right? I mean, I think at the end of the day, I mean, it's culture, business, sports are very popular. We're starting to see other genres start to bubble up too, coming out of Hollywood, like fictional podcasts. So you're seeing this expansion and growth into storytelling. That's really kind of new to some degree in the podcasting medium. I mean, there's some big studios in Los Angeles and other parts of the world that are really putting a lot of effort into what I call kind of radio dramas or sound experience podcasts, right? That are usually series based. So as you think about like a television series, that would be the situation with a fictional podcast. And more of those are getting converted into television series that are made available on places like Amazon Prime and Netflix and other places too.
How much does it cost though to get started?
Oh, podcasting? I think you can get started for probably a couple $100. Yeah, I think, and just get a good quality microphone. There's ones out there that you don't have to spend a lot of money on, like $60. And then get a podcast hosting plan like at a place like Libsyn.com, and then put together your show concept and what you want to accomplish. Set some goals for yourself. Set a focus on what type of content gets you excited to get up in the morning to get on that microphone, because there's a lot of kind of tough work that goes into creating regular content. So it needs to be something that you have a lot of passion for.
Well, it's amazing, and amazing how long you've been doing it. In fact, I mean, how many podcasts have you done? I mean,
I've never counted them all.
Do you have the world record for that?
No, I don't.
Well,
I don't. But I've been on a lot of other people's podcasts, which is what I've done probably the most of since probably about 2006. And then I've been doing my own show every week. It's a 90-minute live show that's been out there for over 12 years now. So it's something that I'm ongoing doing.
Well, maybe you hold the Guinness Book of World Records for that, but if not,
several hundred.
You're right. However, though, I want to share the secret because you do hold the Guinness Book of World Records for something. You got to hear this.
Yeah.
What is that?
I built the world's largest glass of orange juice back in 1998. So at the time, actually, you can do a search in Google if you want to see what it looks like. It's just the world's largest glass of Florida orange juice, and you'll find it.
Unbelievable. Where do you see the future of podcasting going? I mean, we continue to see this trend and it's growing. What's the next level? What's the next step? What's your crystal ball say in regards to it?
I just think it's going to continue steadily growing, and the content's going to get better. And I do think that the listening platforms have been expanding all around the globe. I've been working with, at Libsyn, that's one of my jobs is to expand the distribution of podcasting. And so we're working with music streaming platforms all over the world. We just launched 2 new streaming music platforms in the huge country of India, which gave access to about 300 million more listeners to podcasting just through those 2 music streaming platforms. And then we're also working with other platforms that have yet to be announced that are in other parts of the world as well. So this medium is truly a global medium, and we're reaching a point where podcasting is pretty much in all of the major listening platforms. I think the next phase is going to be listening platforms that are going to be genre-based, which means that There'll be platforms that will be built by companies that will be focused on a particular genre, like sports or culture or learning and those kind of things. I think we'll see a verticalization that will happen in the medium next.
Another popular question that we get is, how do I get sponsors? How do I make money on this? Can you make money on it?
Yeah, you can, and many shows do. But there's also a lot of other options now too. You can create a premium podcast too, which means you can sell access, not unlike what's being done with audiobooks for many, many years. Apple has their own program now where you can create a premium podcast, upload all your episodes directly to them. Spotify has a program that they're doing as well. And so you can do that. You can create just like donation models with your podcast. You can work with major advertisers if you want to work with some agencies, but your show has to be at about 5,000 downloads per episode over a 4-week time span to get what I call like host read CPM advertising opportunities in your podcasts. But smaller shows can monetize too. It's put together a pitch for their show, and think about it from a holistic standpoint. So if you're doing video, you're doing a website, you're doing your audio podcast, pitch a small advertiser somewhere that aligns with your topic and your genre and who your audience is, and you might be able to get a deal done. You don't have to do a deal with a big agency or a big brand. You can work with small brands and get a few $100s per episode or something like that to get started with it. And I think that's a terrific way to get started.
You think radio is going to go away?
No, I don't think radio is going to go away at all. I mean, if you look at podcasting today, some of the biggest players in podcasting are the radio companies. So I guess it depends on what the definition of that question is. Is radio going away? I think the technology of radio is, and how people listen through a broadcast signal is in a state of decline. But that's just because it's a generational shift. People are moving over to listening to digital content more. That doesn't mean that there isn't a place for radio. Radio is terrific for live content, traffic reports, real-time info. I think was where radio has its future, and music will continue to be something that I believe is over the radio waves as well. But more and more people's consumption is moving over to digital on demand.
Can we do live podcasting too?
Well, it's a little bit of a misnomer because podcasting by definition is an on-demand medium. But the concept, if you look at content, just content, yeah, live podcasting, that's what I do with my new media show every week. It's a live YouTube, Facebook, Twitter video experience. And it is live and it's recorded, and then we make the audio available as a downloadable version as well. And the video is a downloadable version. So yeah, I think that there is, if you expand the definition of what a podcast is.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And again, and you're part of Eliances, you're a member of Eliances. In fact, you've been with Eliances for a number of years.
3 or 4 years now.
Yeah, I mean, time just absolutely has just flown by.
Yeah.
And you recently attended one of the events, the Eliances Grand Table, and that. Can you share with our audience, viewers and listeners, of what Eliances means to you?
Yeah, I think it's an energetic community of business leaders and people who just love to connect with others. And I know it's been a little bit of a struggle for all of us because, and that's what was really special about the Eliances Grand Table that I just experienced was, it's been a couple of years since we've had the Grand Table. And I know you've shifted everything over to the virtual world, and that's where the world I live in now more as well. But the community, it's all about community. It's all about networking. It's all about meeting new people and sharing and giving to others in hopes of getting something in return as well. But that's just part of who I am as a person in the podcasting meeting too. I give before I get anything back.
Absolutely. I know you had a line of people that wanted to talk to you because podcasting is still very hot.
Yeah, I just want to help people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We appreciate it. We're glad that you're part of the community.
Yeah.
And again, you can too. Make sure you go to Eliances.com, Eliances.com. It's the only place where entrepreneurs align. And again, we've got with us Rob Greenlee, so again, you can reach him at Libsyn.com, or of course go to his own websites, which we'll also have posted on our website at Eliances.com. Rob, always a pleasure. I'm so glad, and I look forward to our next time seeing you again.
Yeah, I look forward to it too.
Wonderful.
I'll
Thank
come
you.
out to all the grand tables if I can.
Excellent. Well, you're certainly welcome, and we appreciate what you do for the community of Eliances and helping the members of Eliances and that. So thank you so much. You've been watching, listening to David Kogan, host of the Eliances Hero Show.